Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special edition of IHWE Radio. This is David Fuller standing by live in Cowtown, Fort Worth, Texas, the world-class championship wrestling territory. And we are right here with you tonight. This is a very special edition of IHWE Radio. I am so stoked and so excited about this, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, this is going to be so great. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Michael McCurdy out in California, are you there?
I'm right here, man, sunny California. How you doing tonight, David?
I'm doing all right. We have got one heck of a podcast lined up with two awesome superstars, legends, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do, man. I cannot wait to hear this. You know, we've had a chance to talk to them a couple minutes before the show. You know, so it's going to be great. I think tonight's just going to be the night. We're going to let them go, and you and I could sit back and take a little break tonight. I think they may take over.
I love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this coming Saturday is the annual Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony. IHWE began the ceremony 6 years ago, and this coming Saturday, the likes of Stan the Lariat Hansen, Terry Bam Bam Gordy will be honored into the Hall of Fame. But an induction I am very excited about. A man I grew up watching in this territory is being inducted. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only gorgeous Gary Young. He is on the line with us. Gary, how are you tonight?
Hey, David, I'm doing fantastic, brother. Thanks for having me on your show tonight. Hey, Michael, how you doing out there in Southern California, brother? Everything good?
Okay, I think I'm connected back on.
How
you doing, Gary?
How
you doing tonight, Gary? Thanks for coming on.
I'm doing fantastic, guys. Doing fantastic. Glad to be here.
All right.
Glad to be here. Let's have some fun tonight.
All right, let's do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and if that wasn't cool enough, it's not only cool that we got the gorgeous one, a man I share a birthday with. We got the gorgeous one on the line, but we have the man he ruled the tag team reigns with down here in Dallas, Fort Worth for the longest time. They beat Eric Embry up all over North Texas, and he still talks about it. I talked to him last week, and he was complaining about it. Ladies and gentlemen, this man doesn't need an introduction, but he's a multiple-time New York Times best-selling author. He is a WWE Hall of Famer, and he is a member and alumni of Devastation Incorporated. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mick Foley.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I want to congratulate Gary on being inducted into the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame. And I have to tell you, I mean, I've done, probably too many interviews. You know, I'm tired of hearing myself talk. But when I heard about this and that I have a chance to catch up with Gary and talk about the real old days, not when people go, I've been around since the old days, since you were mankind. I'm like, these are the real old days. This is like where you separate the real fans. And to me, there are days that are not discussed often enough. And I think that Gary and I were a tremendously underrated tag team.
Oh, Mick. Hey, Mick, what's going on, big dog? How you doing, brother?
we were just saying it's probably been, we had about 2 minutes to catch up before the show, and we're guessing it was 1990 the last time we wrestled, saw each other, or talked. Not like there's been any heat or anything. You just kind of drift apart in this business, and but what a pleasure. And as soon as I heard that I was going to be having this conversation, all these great memories of my time in World Class started drifting back.
Yeah, man. Hey, Mick, we had some good times, man. The late '80s, there were nothing like those days. They're gone forever. But man, it's good to hear your voice, brother.
Well, I appreciate it. You want me to share with people my first memory of you, Gary?
Oh, man, yeah. I'd like to hear that. I think I might like to hear that one myself. I don't even know if we've ever talked about your first memory.
Well, my first experience, Gary, we when we came to World Class, we came in as a team. But primarily, I did about 4 months in Memphis, and Gary was there considerably longer. And just during the course of the TV show, they'd often, just team up, these three bad guys against these three good guys. And Gary and I were put out there quite a bit as a team, and we just kind of gelled to the point where we ended up capturing the I don't even know what the tag team belt in Memphis were called, but we ended up winning those titles, and we went on to have a pretty good little feud with Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden. But on my first day, not my first day at TV, because I had a singles match at TV, my first day, I was the first time I teamed up with Gary. I think it was me and Gary against Bill Dundee and Jeff Jarrett. And Gary told me that Bill liked to have his stature mocked, and that it would be a good idea for me to start the match on my knees, challenging Bill to a fight. I hadn't been around long enough. I'd been in independence. I didn't know what ribs were. And those first 3 Bill Dundee punches hit me in the mouth, and I remember thinking, I don't think he likes having his height made fun of, and it never dawned on me that anyone could have done that to me on purpose. I just thought, man, he must have been mistaken, because Bill doesn't seem to be enjoying this like Gary told me he would. And then I came out of that ring, man. I walked into the back, and the boys were laughing, and Bill was like, mate, he was good about it afterwards. But he's like, I don't like you. You've been doing that, mate. So that was my first experience, Gary getting me beaten up by superstar Bill Dundee.
Man, I got accused of a lot of ribs, Mick, through the days, man. I guess that was part of my game, I think there was quite a few ribs pulled when I was in the area. We did. We really. I guess we must have caught. I don't think anyone expected. Our turn was more or less just a way for us to leave the area and head on to World Class. And I don't know if you remember, Gary, was when we won those tag belts. And I mean, I can hear Robert Fuller's voice like it was yesterday, going, "That's right." They were planning on the big shows. I think I may be off by a month or so, but the winners of our tag championships were supposed to face the Samoan SWAT team, and Jimmy and Robert just kind of co-opted our tag belts, and then Gary said, "No, Robert, Jack and I, we won the belts. We're gonna take on this, but we're gonna talk to you about that." And Gary nodded his head, okay. And then when it became clear that that we were not going to get those belts, and we raised their ire. It really turned into a good. I don't want to talk wrestle talk and say an angle, but it was a good piece of business. It got a far greater response than people would have thought on paper. We came back in spirit of '76, as they call it, and cleaned house, and we ran around, a couple times and had some really impressive matches with Robert and Jimmy. Yeah. It was always great to have you next to me, because I never knew what you were going to do either. I would be like sitting there thinking we had this certain line we're going about, and all of a sudden, you would throw me out in left field, and I'd be like, oh, kind of regroup and do something different.
Gary was the ring general out there. To this day, I would try to go through the mathematics of, all right, there's a tackle and a drop down, and he'll end up on that side. How does he do that? He knew where he was at all times in the ring, and that's the mark of one of the things that goes underappreciated by just about everybody. But I would sit there and everything he did, Gary, everything he did, everything you did, looked good. Everything was done with a purpose, and again, going back to the tag team, I thought we deserved to be discussed in those among the top teams of that time period.
Right, and I agree 100%. I mean, I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth territory, so let's talk about World Class. But I want to hear both your experiences. The first time you got down here, who did you deal with? What did you think? What was if you don't mind talking about what was discussed when you guys first got to Dallas, you're going to be in Devastation Incorporated. things that people say, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but I was just a kid watching. I wasn't there. I wasn't getting the paydays. People like to sit there and say that, the territory had already died. I disagree because I was a kid. I was enamored with Devastation and Eric Embry. I went to the Will Rogers show. I saw you guys on the scaffold. One of the last one of the last interactions I had with the late, great Percy Pringle on Twitter was about that night. And, Nick, we interacted about that on Twitter. So let's talk about
Nick broke his hand in that match. Nick broke his hand.
I did. I broke my wrist.
That's the one where you landed flat down on your wrist, and you never went to the doctor, and it would hurt for like 3 weeks. It's like, dude, you got a broken freaking arm.
Yeah. And it was. I'm the only guy to ever give a notice. It was. I think literally 6 months. Went and I did after a while. I had it checked out, and it was in a brace. And then the brace moved on to a cast, and then the cast kept getting bigger. And so I think I'm the only guy who actually gave his notice, and worked out his notice because he had a broken wrist that wouldn't heal. That didn't occur to me that would be reason that you could just go home. But I'm going to stop you there for a second because we were not, Gary, if you remember, we were not set to come in as part of Devastation Incorporated.
Oh, okay.
We were just, I think they looked at it like, all right, here's Gary, who's this really, talented guy who's been around. He's with this, kind of unusual, kid. And as proof that they did not have big plans, our debut at the Sportatorium was a 20-minute draw with, I think it was Rick Casey and Cowboy Tony Falk. And this is not a knock on Cowboy Tony, who I saw last year and and admire. But if you're the new bad guys in town and you're not getting a win over Cowboy Tony, it's a telltale sign that they don't have big plans for you. But within, I think, 2 days, it was at a very short time. It may have been the next day at TV. I was lucky enough to have had my tires slashed, which in our business was a sign that you were doing something well. To this day, it could just be that I had a faulty, valve, and it just, I don't know, but the word got around that somebody had slashed my tires. And I remember Gary tapping me on the shoulder, and I believe it was in San Antonio just a couple days later, with the news that, hey, we're going to be part of Devastation. And that was big news. That's where every bad guy wanted to be and really needed to be part of that card. And and I know I'm kind of rambling on here, but I think one of the remarkable things was that when we joined Devastation, it was a pretty strong group of heels, and everyone kind of left, and yet World Class was not dead because little by little those Dallas shows especially started coming back to where we were regularly putting 1,500 people or more into the building on a Friday night, from lows where they'd been down under 200 on several occasions, going back a year. So there was a definite feeling that something was going on. A lot of it was Eric Embry's turn. He was another guy really underrated and did an amazing job of carrying the ball as a very unlikely babyface. But Gary, at a certain point, I would hear, the team of guys, and they had an all-star roster of good guys, and it was like Brickhouse Brown, and it was Eric Embry, and it was Jeff, and then even Jimmy Jack Funk turned. They had 8 or 9 top, Chris Adams, 8 or 9 top baby faces all talking about what a horrible group of people Devastation was. And it was me and you, with me working twice a night because they couldn't find another heel to bring in after Tim Brooks quit. And I'm like, we must be doing something right because we've got heat. And we
love to work, Mick. You and I, we love to be in the ring. We had, think about it. We love getting in the ring and having a good time.
And it showed. Yeah, it showed.
We spent hours and hours talking strategy and working. You were young in the business, when we did the Tennessee gig and we did some traveling there and then came over to Texas. When we came into Texas, you'd spent some good solid time with me at that point. And because the thing I used to say was, hey man, say some of them great moves for when it really counts, And
I wish. Guess who wishes he'd taken that advice now?
What did I tell you? I said 20 years from now you're gonna wish. God dang it, he was right.
One thing I wanted to bring up, guys. One thing I don't mean to cut you guys off. One thing I wanted to bring up. I need to say this because I don't think what y'all did gets enough attention. Mick, like you said, it doesn't get talked about enough. Okay, I'm a kid, and I know every time I say that I get more and more heat with you guys. I'm kidding. But I'm watching WWF because they've got the superstars. They've got Hogan, Andre, Savage. So I'm enamored by the superstars, quote unquote. I'm not smart enough to know who's good and who isn't as far as work rate goes. But I'm watching World Class, and I remember, I swear to you, this is the exact memory. Sunday morning or Sunday early afternoon, it's either channel 27 or 39 here in Fort Worth. I'm eating a Butterfinger. That tells you how much this memory means to me. And I'm seeing Eric Embry work Akbar in the cage. And Gary, man. I think you came up from under the ring, or you and Mick both, and y'all beat the tar out of Eric.
Yeah,
Embry.
we were both under there.
We were underneath the ring for freaking 5 hours.
Yeah, so that's what Eric told me. I talked to Eric 2 weeks ago on the phone, and I brought that up. And I think I get more heat with him every time I bring it up too. But I was talking to him about that match, and he straight up said, he said, yeah, those guys were underneath the ring 5 or 6 hours with buckets. He had to include that part, of course.
Yeah, in case we needed them. Yeah, because today, I mean, I don't want to give away the magic, but WWE tends to create a diversion, and then when the lights are out, they can, sneak guys where they need them to be. But we didn't have that luxury. Like we were under there before the, for an hour before people started coming in. And Gary, I don't know if you remember this, but we're under there, and Gary says to me, because there's this little area you can peek out, where the light is coming in. Gary says, a little girl just saw us. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember that.
And he goes, a little girl just, and at that time, this is the biggest angle, that I'd ever been involved in. And I think, Gary, even at that point in your career, this is the big one for us. Eric's the top babyface in the company. We're going to do a number on him, and we get spotted by a little girl who tells her mother that she just saw a man underneath the ring. And the mother thankfully says, how many times have I told you to stop telling? Like we hear the mother chastising the child for lying and breathe a deep sigh of relief. And, when you're underneath that ring and you understand that, this is the biggest, this is the biggest moment of your career, and that adrenaline kicks in, and then we're in this thing together. We know we've got to be impressive. And meanwhile, and this is with no disrespect to the late great General Akbar, but Ak was not having a particularly classic, classic match, and he was going to give us a sign. He was going to start kicking the ring.
He wanted to. Yeah.
And we're like, wait, he's going to the kicking. He's stomping that ring awful early, like 2 minutes in.
And we wouldn't go out. We waited.
We wouldn't go out. It can't possibly be this quick. And we finally did. He was like, Gary, I was dying. But the match was awful. He had that heat, man, and we did that number on Eric.
Yeah, y'all made that impression on me, and that's what I remember it, and I vividly, and that's what brought me to. My dad had taken me to matches down here earlier, but I don't remember them. I remember going to Will Rogers. I don't remember anything else on the card except the main event, and I don't remember. But Michael, I know you wanted to ask these two guys a question, so if you're there, go ahead and ask your question, Michael.
Yeah, I'm right here, man. I've just been listening to this conversation. I got to say, it has been great. I did have one question. I've always been a big fan of Skandar Akbar, Devastation Incorporated. You guys, I watched it all on Legends on ESPN. I've got just hours and hours of footage on DVD now, watching it all. What was it like working with Skandar Akbar, and what was he like, not just in the ring, but outside of the ring?
Okay.
Man, Gary, you want to give it a go first?
Yeah, man. Let me start out. Well, first of all, Devastation Incorporated was probably the longest running single successful manager program there was. Scandal Akbar ran it for over 20 some odd years, by himself. I remember it breaking into the business and thinking, he had already done it, back in the Gary Hart days when Gary Hart was there, and him and Akbar went at each other. Playboy Gary Hart, and then Akbar had his crew, and it was always going against him and Mark Lewin, but that was always the thing. Akbar, and then probably the most hardest thing to ever do with Akbar was just work with him in the ring, because man, he was old school. He came from the Danny Hodge days. He came from Sputnik Monroe, and it was get a hold, grab it, solid as a rock. It was like a bear in there. Literally speaking, when he put his hands on you, you knew it. The camel clutch, it was a back breaker, literally, because he sat on your back. But no, man, it was great. True gentleman in the business all the way through. I remember a lot of great times. I remember some times when I had him so mad at me that he couldn't even stand to look at me. But as far as having a guy as a manager, was there to support, was there to make everything better every time you were in the ring, he was gold. What do you think?
Yeah,
Mark?
I enjoyed it completely, and I think probably because of where Gary, settled, at what part of, in what proximity to Dallas, and where I was in, I'm trying to think of where the amusement park is there, the Six Flags. Arlington, yeah. That we didn't ride as often as we did in Memphis. That it was easier, for for me to ride with Ack and Bronk, because my car was always, how many miles my car had left in it at that point, and so I was like a sponge, and I would just absorb that. Other than having to pretend that cars weren't passing, Bronk would be in that left lane. Doing about 45.
We used to back up. We used to laugh so hard. We would laugh so hard, man, because like Bronco and Ack would get in the car and they drive together, and they leave. If it was a 200-mile trip and it took 3 hours to drive, they'd leave at 5 hours ahead. 5 hours. They would give themselves 5 hours. They're going to be there, an hour before the match. They're going to stop and eat along the way. There's a Holiday Inn with a buffet that says no wrestlers allowed. They're going to squeeze in anyway. And then there was Jack in the back seat, most of the time sleeping, I might add. Until the nighttime. The nighttime is when those two old birds woke up and would start telling stories. And Cactus was there for thousands and thousands of those miles. But I couldn't do it. Yeah. Of course, I very seldom drove.
What? Speaking of this memory just came to me, and this is in the book.
I had people giving me rides.
Instead of, you wouldn't stomach it. Yeah, but I loved it, and I learned a lot about saving $1 with Ack, and it wasn't until about the second month that we rode together, and he exploded on somebody, and I'd always feel, oh God, here he goes, because he could really turn up the volume, and he just turned to me one day, he goes, damn, Jack, I love going off. And I said, you do? And he goes, oh, it makes me feel so good inside. And I said, so that's a good thing? He goes, yeah, I love it. And from that point on, when Ack would explode, I just realized it was a healthy venting process. But my first day in World Class, Bronco came up to me, and we didn't get draws in Memphis. We didn't get money against our paycheck like they offered in Dallas. And here comes Bronco Lubitsch, and he has a pen and a piece of paper, and he says, "Want to draw?" I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, what am I supposed to draw? Like a little pup, like a fuzzy puppy? And Bronco must have asked me 4 times. And Gary finally goes, he wants to know if you want some money, Jack.
That's awesome.
I still needed it that time. I wasn't well versed in the ways of and I'm really proud to be one of the last of the territory guys. I think it's
you were you and Steve Austin, Steve Austin even a year and a half or so after you, you guys both got the tail end of a group of guys that knew that came from territorial work.
There's something I don't begrudge any of the guys in developmental because I know they have to work hard and the odds are against them, but there's something that comes with knowing that you have to produce on Friday nights, and in order to see that attendance rise that you're involved in angles that really mean something. Now, the money we were talking about, was relatively small, but it was the difference between eating and not eating, whether or not these angles went well. And I just, for me, it was like night and day. And I remember talking to Jeff Jarrett about this after he had read my book. Like, he didn't realize how little I liked being in Memphis and how much I loved being in world class. But it was a lot of it was just that. It was and you know what, Gary, I don't know if you know this. I had a really nice time meeting with Randy Hales this summer. He took me and my family, gave us tickets to the circus, full access. We went back, and he works with Cole Brothers and did a great job, and we talked about the old times. But if you remember, some of those old Southern guys were a little rough on me, and I didn't particularly enjoy myself there. And then when we got to world class, it was just a new beginning for me. Like, I loved going to work. I had like I mentioned, some of those baby faces we had to work with were just like a dream, like Eric Embry and Chris Adams and Brickhouse and Jeff Jarrett. Like, it was just Matt Bourne taught me a lot about, like selling in a unique way. I wrote what I thought was a pretty nice piece after Matt died. Did you remember the first time that we worked with Matt, Gary, when he came into the territory?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
He kind of sat me down. Listen, man, he goes, Matt Bourne's a little bit different. Like, you got to keep on him. You got to stay on him. You don't keep on him, he's gonna eat you up.
He'll eat you up.
And I took a lot from what I saw Matt do as a baby face, and I think, working with him and seeing how hard he made the heels work, and how it brought something better out of us.
Keep fighting back, yeah. You had to keep fighting back. You had to make that. You have to make the heel work for their heat.
Yeah. So it was, whereas a guy like Eric, he was great in a different way. It was almost like the crowd would be hitting the ring to help resuscitate him because he was so convincing. And Matt was like a bull, and so every night it was a learning experience. And there were a lot of nights, Gary, where you and I, we didn't have the freedom to talk to opponents before we got out there, and we just kind of created. And again, not to belabor the point that I thought we were overlooked, but I thought we were pretty darn good together.
I think we did. We had some great times. We had some freaking matches out of this world, Out of this world.
I would, what?
Gary,
I'm going to set a challenge. Can I set a challenge out there for any of the old school tape traders and guys on the internet? I believe that Gary and I, unless the Freebirds did it in the U.S., which now that I think of it, I think they did, because I was basically taking it from Gordy and someone else in Japan. But Gary and I started using that double power bomb. With Gary doing most of the heavy lifting and me kind of guiding down, but we were able to bring some cool stuff that hadn't been seen, and kind of take these two unusual guys, who wouldn't seem to have much in common, and make we weren't two guys who looked like each other, like the Fabulous Ones, we
were misfits,
like
brother. Yeah, but we worked well together, It wasn't supposed to be gorgeous. It wasn't supposed to be gorgeous Gary Young in his robes, and then you coming out, and you had your vest and your long tights, and you look like you come off a freaking ship. We weren't supposed to, and we were misfits, but our work together was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was always a pleasure.
Gary, now that real quick sidebar, you're talking about Matt Bourne. Matt was at the Hall of Fame last year. It was one of the last events he attended. Matt's kids are flying down this weekend, and we're going to honor Matt Bourne in front of his kids. So Matt Bourne's kids will be down here. They're flying down from New Jersey. So anybody, Gary, including you, we have a lot to do on Saturday. Devastation Incorporated is getting honored. You and Black Bart are going to talk about that. Then you're going to get inducted. Cool. But if you have anything you want to say about Matt Bourne, say it on Saturday, because his daughter and his son will be there. And to me, that's one of the biggest honors that a family still grieving would take the time to come down here in an event that, is geared towards just the wrestlers and not a big global phenomenon.
Right.
I think that's a huge honor, and it's going to be emotional. I didn't know Matt like you guys did, but I did get to know him in, the last couple of years, and it's going to be great. So it'll be, a real nice day in memory.
The Gypsies, man. he was still living the life until the very end,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mick, you did write you wrote a wonderful, wonderful piece about Matt, and it was really cool. And Matt's family's flying down this weekend, so it's going to be great.
Well, please give them my very best, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, real quick, there's a match, Mick, on the last DVD / Blu-ray / digital presentation that was put out through WWE with yours, and there's a tag match with you and Gary on there, I believe, from the AWA. Am I correct?
Yeah, it was that series of TV tapings we did. It was Memphis, World Class, and AWA. So we were probably in an AWA ring, and I believe it was me and Gary against with Billy Travis and Scott Steiner.
Oh,
let me see. I've got it right here. I've got it right here. I got the DVD. Let me pull it out here. Let me see. I got to go to the first disc. Okay. It is Cactus Jack and Gary Young versus Scott Steiner and Billy Travis from AWA October 1988.
There we go.
Dude.
Yeah. And we actually got the victory there. So and Vern Gagne said a couple complimentary things about me. That was a great set of tapings, Gary. I remember I got my check in the mail, and it was $500 that week, and I thought I was the king of the world. That was about double what we were taking in on a usual basis, and we had those exciting.
You got more than Lawler did.
So I got to see a lot of good guys. That's where I met. I'd met Buddy Roberts a few years earlier, but that was where I met the Samoans for the first time. And we
do that. Was that Chicago or up in Minneapolis?
Well, we ended up. I think they paid it off with the pay-per-view in Chicago, but we just did our regular towns, which was Memphis, Louisville, and I don't think we did Evansville. We probably did Nashville as well.
Oh, Nashville. You got it, yeah.
But the first time I could actually point to a match where I could say, hey, I drew, guys, Broncos stories. Gary, do you remember how every one of Broncos stories started out? They all started the same way. I remember back in Charlotte, I was working on top. That was every Bronco story started with the words working in Charlotte. I was in Charlotte. I was working on top. But man, even in the Attitude Era, it's hard for me to prove that I was a part of something really big, with Austin and those guys. And it's hard to pinpoint and say, hey, I was the difference maker in this card. But Gary, we used to every Wednesday night we would go, and we knew that Evansville was going to be a $25 night. I mean, we just knew it because there'd be less than 100 people out there. I wondered why we ran the place. But when we hit that angle with Robert and Jimmy, and we promoted that football match. Do you remember the football match?
Yes, I do remember that one.
It had a key on each side of the football taped up, and we could throw it in the crowd. The crowd would throw it back, and the idea was our team had to try to unlock a cage. Our cage had Downtown Bruno, with a kendo stick, and Robert
Nick,
and Jimmy.
That sounds like a chamber of horrors.
Man, it did turn out to be a chamber of horrors.
Or a Global Wrestling Federation bungee cord match. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, the way it was built up, and because, as I mentioned, we had, we had great chemistry, and Robert cut a heck of a promo. When we got to that building, and I'd been there, long enough, I'd been there 3 months, so I'd been there 12 times, and it was about 150 people on each of those 11 occasions. And we showed up to that football match, and that place was packed.
Full, yeah. First time,
and it was like,
full in years.
And it was like, wow, we I remember Gary pulling me aside and said, Jack, we did that. And it was like, wow. And like I said, all these years later, that's the first time I can ever point to an event and say that I had made a difference in the card.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I do remember that because Evansville was like the deadest place, the worst place in the world to go. The worst. And then that was payday. You had to go to Evansville to get paid.
Yeah. I remember Steve. Stone Cold is a heck of a guy, but he will hold a grudge, and I believe he's still angry at Jeff Jarrett because Steve told me he got his check. Now I was out of the territory by then. Gary may have been there, and Steve was looking at his check, and it was even lower than usual. And he said, "And I love Jeff, but he picked the wrong choice of words to try to console a guy like Steve." And he patted Steve on the back, and he goes, "It ain't gonna get any bigger the longer you look at it."
I think
he held it against him for the next 10 years. Yeah.
I think that bit Jared in the butt come 1999, but that's another story.
and those paydays had a lot to do with us, Jack. Going back to world class and everything as well. I mean, we got to where we were too hungry to stay there. Jerry Jarrett bought a world class, and it was almost like we were like an experiment, to see how things went. Came in and it just was like night and day. I went from a guy who was thinking, all right, I guess this business might not be for me, to a guy just saying, man, I love it. I love going out there. I love entertaining, getting heat. It never dawned on us, when we would work at like a military base in front of nothing but soldiers, and that we to go out there with Akbar. And, in Kentucky when we were at Fort Knox. We went to Fort Knox. We thought, this is going to be great, and they started marching. The whole arena was nothing but service people, and of course we're in. There's always a lot of problems in the Arab world anyway, and of course we come out with Skandar Akbar, and you don't think it was some serious hoorahs going on in that place? Yeah, man.
He's a general. I remember Gary getting on the microphone, the only certified 4-star.
He said, I'm the only general in this place. He got on the radio and started saying, I'm the only general here. You'll listen to me. Hey, he was a surgeon. That was funny. Man, it was great.
Well, guys, I know you got a lot going on, so one thing we want to touch on. Well, I think we need to do this because you guys haven't talked in such a long time. Mick, is there anything you want to say to Gary? And Gary, is there anything you want to say to Mick? Mick, I know we're gonna right before we let you go, we're gonna talk about your charity WrestleMania auction because that's a great thing that you're doing. But right now, you guys have the floor to say whatever you want to each other. So Mick, go ahead, and if there's anything you want to say to Gary or the fans of Texas wrestling going into this weekend, go right ahead.
Hey, well, to the fans of Texas wrestling, thank you for allowing me to love the business. They were great. I remember Ack getting on me one time in a real nice way, but he was like, Jack, he says, you work so hard out there, but you go out and you're nice to the because we'd see the same people every Friday night, every Saturday morning, and anyone who spent any amount of time with me could see that that I was fairly kind at heart, and I worked really hard in the ring to try to overcome that. And that was Ack's point, is like, you're working so hard out there, and then you come out here and you're just so nice to everyone. Like, this is a few years before, that became the norm, the few years before, it was acceptable to go out and kind of be out of character. But I love the people there in Texas. Thank you guys for, letting me find that passion. And to Gary, man, I've always said that, your big break is usually a series of small breaks. And no question about it, to me, if I'd gone in there as a solo wrestler, I would have had a short-lived stint, and none of the other things would have happened. So thank you for being part of my career and my life, and just can't see how things would have worked out as well as they did had we not crossed paths in 1988.
Hey, thanks, Mick, and right back at you, man. I mean, I always felt like one of my roles and one of the things I was taught in one of my first territories I was in was, when you have an opportunity to take the young guys and show them the right way, I always felt like I was a good teacher of the business. I always tried to steer people the right way, and God bless you for that, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad if I had any part of your success, it makes me proud. It makes me know that you and Stone Cold and guys, like that went on the road with me and listened to me, you validate me by your success, and that's what I appreciate the most.
Well, man, I appreciate that. And for the last, I think, 3 years, every time I open up, there's a closet door. There's a great picture. I think his last name was Meyer. I can't remember, a photographer. And he took a photo of me dropping that elbow off the ring apron on Mickey Finn Jr., and Gary's in the foreground, and I'm dropping the elbow, and it's a great photo. Like, I haven't had it up in a long time, but I can't bear to part with it, and so I see it every 3 days. I'm reminded of those days. So again, thanks, Gary, for your contribution, not only to Texas wrestling, where you will rightfully be inducted into the Hall of Fame, but in my career, it is not forgotten.
Awesome, buddy.
Well,
awesome.
Mick, and Gary, stay on the line because we're going to talk to you a few more minutes after we let Mick go. Okay, Mick, nowadays you're a stand-up comedian and very successful, and I caught your special on, was it Gotham Theater Live?
Yeah, Live at Gotham, yeah.
Yeah, I caught that. Excellent.
And I believe, for fans, what you guys, is podcast, so it goes just about everywhere, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so they can check out my dates. I mean, I'm real busy coming up with dates in about 13 different states in the next three months. So you can just go to realmickfoley.com, and I am running this great raffle for a group called RAIN, which is the largest anti-sexual assault organization in the U.S., and the Dream Vacation Package is almost, it sounds too good to be true, but someone really did win when we did it 2 years ago. Someone really will win. It's completely at random. 2 years ago, it was a Canadian. It's open to anybody in the world. And 2 years ago, we raised $60,000, and I think we're going to beat that this time. If anyone wants to check that out, just go to realmickfoley.com and then click on raffle. And for $10, you can make a huge difference in the lives of thousands of people.
Awesome, brother.
That is amazing. That's amazing.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Like I said, this is one I was really looking forward to, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, Mick, I will get Gary your information, and then you two can conversate. And, hey, Mick, let's stay in touch. We'd love to have you back on sometime, and I'd like to get you down here sometime for one of these Texas Wrestling Hall of Fames. It's a great time.
All right, man. Maybe feel free to induct me one of these days.
Oh, definitely.
I'll make the trip down. I'll make the trip down and get the honorary speech for him.
Hey, I would love it, man. I would love it. Thanks, Gary. I appreciate it.
Hey, take a little
Thank you, Mick.
Out, brother.
All right, bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mick Foley WWE Hall of Famer, Devastation Incorporated alumni. Well, Gary, I wanted to surprise you, man. I knew you guys hadn't talked in a long time. This is a big week for you. You've been in the paper where you live at. You're going into the Hall of Fame on Saturday with Stan Hansen. You're going in with Terry Gordy. Man, and now, I really wanted to make this week. I wanted to add to it, so that's why I saw it after Mick, and I knew as soon as Mick heard that you were involved, I knew Mick would jump on it, and he did. So.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the hard work you put into this thing. I'm humbled by it all, man. It's like I said, Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, Mankind, Stone Cold Steve Austin. They help validate me because I had a lot to do with some of their early successes. So, but yeah, it was what fun. Mick's got an amazing memory. He brings up things that I would have to search in the cobwebs to find.
Well, one quick question, and then we'll let you go because I know you've got a lot to do before you head down here this weekend. Okay, so you're going into the Hall of Fame. This is a big week for you. You just had a conversation with Mick. You're going into the Hall of Fame on Saturday. You're going in with Stan the Lariat Hansen. You're going in with Terry Bam Bam Gordy, Dusty Wolf. The names are just endless. What does it mean to you? Now, like I said, we started this Hall of Fame a few years ago. It's not the biggest. It's not, the most monetary gaining Hall of Fame, but we do it because we love the business. You're one of my heroes, and you should be honored for the contributions. What does it mean to you to go in this Saturday night with your peers there, with your family there? What does it mean to you?
It's. I think I said it. It's a very humbling feeling to be rewarded. Even 20 years. This year would be like 37 years. If I would still been wrestling from the time I started, it would be 37 years. But I've been out for right at almost 20 years. So I stopped at 19. It's you say it's small, but it's not really small, because you're reaching out. Your contacts are wide and far now. Your contacts are better than some of the guys that's been doing promoting and stuff around that area for years and years. You've excelled in that. Not everyone that gets trained by a wrestler excels in wrestling, but then they find an avenue in the sport that they love, and yours happens to be in promoting. And I think what you're doing locally in Texas to recognize the guys that's done there and done the hard work and everything, it's phenomenal. I'm humbled by it. I appreciate the honor. I appreciate the cast of guys that I'm going in with this year. Stan Hansen and Chris Germany and Awesome Kong and Ray Evans. I remember one of Ray's first matches with me. Great kid. I remember way back when and so yeah, I'm honored. It's a great feeling. You say it's small, it's large in my heart to me, so that's how I feel about it.
Well, thank you, Gary. You called me on Monday, and you said some words to me privately, and when somebody like you says that to me, I said it on your Facebook. I was sitting in the crowd in 1989. I was a kid watching you guys on the scaffold at Will Rogers Coliseum, and here I am, years later, and I just hosted a podcast with you and Mick talking about it. I get to meet you for the first time on Saturday, and I'm just happy to be involved with this ceremony. I'm happy to watch, I'm happy to meet your family. I'm happy to meet you. I'm happy to see y'all get together. The wrestlers need more days like this. There's not enough days. You have the shootout in February, and I think the shootout's a great thing. But you need more days where y'all get together. It's not enough because every year we lose somebody. So
we call it living the dream, enough. Brother. We call it living the dream.
Well, I'm happy to just be a part. I just wanted to be accepted for so many years, and you guys have accepted me, and it's a huge honor for me. So, well, Gary, thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna. I'm gonna email you on Facebook Mick's contact information. He gave me a couple of numbers. to shoot over to you, and I think from there y'all will get. He said he said something about you getting a cell phone number and emails and stuff, but I'll let you guys handle that. We'll get Mick on again, and we'll get you on again, and we'll discuss this. But I will see you this coming Saturday. If you need anything from me beforehand, you know how to find me. Michael, did you want to say anything to Gary when we have him on the phone? I'm sorry you haven't been able to say much.
No, man, I have no problem sitting back tonight. This was your chance to. You're living a dream right here now, David. I mean, I know how much it's meant to you, so I got no problem sitting back and just listening to everything. But, Gary, I do have one thing. I've contacted you before, and I'm working on the Encyclopedia WCCW. I've messaged you on Facebook a few times before, I do want to get in contact with you because I am actually working in about the time frame that you're in right now. So I am putting together your page. I got some photos from Mike Leno. That I would be more than happy to pass on to you. And I wanted to offer it to Mick as well while we had him on the air, but you guys are having such a good time. I probably have over 1,000 hours or more of world-class footage from all my research I've been doing. And if there's anything you want of your stuff, any specific match you're kind of looking for, if I've got it, I would be more than happy to get you a copy of that and send that your way. So I will get in touch with you through Facebook and all that, and we can talk some more about that.
Absolutely. Just personal message me anything that you need, and I'll get it back to you, and likewise. But hit me up with a message, and I'll send you back my David. You got my number. You can always forward it to him as well.
Okay,
that's fine. Just give me a call anytime. Michael, it's fine. Yeah.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Gary. I will see you this weekend. Thank you, sir.
Hey, man. Thanks a lot, guys, and for all the Texas wrestling fans out there. I will see you guys soon. Gorgeous Gary Young is alive and well, living in large, baby. We're out, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Gary. Have a good one.
All right. You too, bud.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? On that note, we have to take a short time out. We'll be right back with more IHWE Radio.
For the first time ever, the Mid-South Legends Fan Fest will take place Friday, April 4th in Charlotte, Louisiana at the Seeger Center. Don't miss Q&A with the founder of Mid-South Wrestling, Cowboy Bill Watts, with Jim Cornette, a Cajun dinner with the stars, photo ops with legends like the Midnight Express, Mr. Wrestling 2, Mr. Olympia, Kamala, and more. Oh, but there's more. In the evening, the Battle Lines live wrestling event will feature a JYD Memorial Cup Battle Royale honoring the late Junkyard Dog, plus the Rock and Roll Express, Bill Dundee, Tommy Dreamer, the Pope, Elijah Burke, the Masterpiece, Chris Adonis will all be in action. Plus, Dark Journey returns to manage the Empire in a 6-man tag team match. And Mickey James will take on Angelina Love in the Squared Circle. Make your plans now to attend this once-in-a-lifetime event Friday, April 4th at the Seeger Center in Charlotte. For more information, go to MidSouthLegends.com. Be a part of Mid-South history today.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have had a humdinger. Mick Foley and gorgeous Gary Young just took us down a trip down memory lane that I will remember this show for the rest of my life. Thank you, Mick Foley. Thank you, man. I know you've got so much going on, and this was an off night for you, and you took time out of your home life and your family life to come on here. You've had a couple conversations with me, and you've been nothing but cool. Akbar always said you were, and James Beard said it the other day, and James Beard wanted me to tell you hi, and I totally forgot, and I apologize. But James and Akbar both said you have never changed. You have always been awesome and so kind. And, man, thank you. And, Gary, thank you so much for doing this and taking the time. I know you've got a busy week, because you're coming down this weekend. So thank you both for coming on the show tonight. You have made this awesome. We're going to get these two guys back on here for another show because I could listen to those guys talk for hours. Absolutely amazing. Michael, any thoughts?
Well, honestly, man, if we let them go, we probably could let them talk for hours tonight. Those are some great stories they had to share. Listening to Mick, listening to Gary, and I'm sure they got plenty more. So, yeah. But next time, let's try to do maybe one guest, and then maybe the next week. We put them both on. They kind of, I mean, Daniel Bryan took over Monday night, but Mick and Gary kind of took over Wednesday night for us. So, you know, we want to be on a little bit, you know.
Oh yeah, we'll do that. But very cool. I was hell bent on doing this. It was just something about it. You know, this Saturday Gary's going into the Hall of Fame. This Saturday Devastation Incorporated is being honored. So I really wanted to have a Devastation Incorporated reunion tonight, and we were able to pull it off. And wow, just it went. Oh, this was awesome. So, wow. All right, let's. Michael, you have a wrestling show coming up in Eureka, and thankfully everything is, let me say this about Michael. Let me say this about Michael and Joe. Michael and Joe, well, Joe's been around for a little bit, but Michael, he's just getting his feet wet as a promoter. Live event promoting, especially in wrestling, is the hardest thing I've ever had to do, besides being a father. It's not easy, folks. It isn't easy, especially when you don't own a building, especially when you don't own a ring. You have to depend on other people. You have to depend on the people bringing the ring. You have to depend on Mother Nature and the weather. You have to depend on automobiles. You have to depend on so many different things. Things can go wrong, and you either have two options. You can either throw the towel in and say, well, guess I'm done, or you can work and change it around. Well, Michael and Joe faced an issue this week that many promoters have, including myself, had the backs up against the wall, and they're making it work. And I applaud them. And if anybody ever wants to question these guys, you're an idiot, because these guys have the heart, because they're not just – it's not that they're counting the money, folks, because what they're probably doing is counting the money that they're going to have to spend just to put on the show. They are putting their livelihood on the line, their own finances, with the hope that this show will be a success. Folks, these aren't, Joe and Mike are not the kind of promoters to just go, catch you next time. Their word is their bond, and they are going to have an awesome show. Anything can happen in live event promoting. It's not easy. I've been one for 16 years, and it's still hell every time we do it, because you just never know. Now, granted, if you love the business, you make it happen. Sometimes things just happen that you cannot control. Buildings close down. Just so many things can happen. I'm proud of Mike and Joe for pulling it together and doing what they need to do. So, Mike, go ahead and talk about the show you got upcoming.
Well, first off, David, thank you for all the kind words. Yeah, this weekend definitely... It was a rough one. We found out Friday night that the ring that we had booked a month or two prior, there was a transportation issue, and it was looking like we were not going to be able to get a ring. So I got in touch with you. You put the message out on Facebook, and probably within 2 or 3 hours, we got in touch with Sparky Ballard from Gold Rush Pro Wrestling, who I've now talked to a few times and actually have invited to come onto the show next month to promote one of theirs, kind of a, he's helping us out, I'm helping him out, so he's going to come on and promote one of his upcoming shows and all that. But Joe and I were on the phone either with each other or other people or on Facebook for 2 days, and we finally got the deal set up, and Sparky's bringing the ring. He's got a crew coming in with him, and at the last minute we saved it. If we didn't have something by Monday afternoon, just due to the deadline, we were going to have to cancel, or else we would have lost the money on the building. So our backs were against the wall. You helped us a lot, man. We appreciate it. Thank you for getting the word out and helping us keep this show going. So, yeah, March 22nd, 7 p.m. bell time here in Eureka, California at Redwood Acres Fairgrounds. The show's happening. We got, a couple weeks ago, we had the devil himself, Derek Drexel, on here. He's in our main event that night. He's going to be facing Quiz in a no-rules street fight. We've got Jason Sullivan versus Gentleman George Michael. We've got a title defense. I'm going to keep that kind of under wraps right now as to which title is going to be defended that night. We've got a tag match. We've got a Dr. Cleaver versus Hess coming in that night. We are opening with a very old-school way. We are opening with a battle royal that night. That's going to be the opening match. Everybody's going to get a chance to see everybody on that card doing what they do best, which is getting in that ring and putting on a show. So we got a good one. It was saved. Honestly, as far as promoting goes, man, you can have it. I wanted to do this because I thought, this is going to be kind of fun. I want to see what it's like. I want to try everything that I can try to do in wrestling. Henceforth, one of the reasons why I'm doing this radio show. It was offered to me. I wanted to give it a shot. I'm going to want to do this for the next 20 years, and I don't know if I'm ever going to want to promote a show again. Maybe in a year we might try it again. We're thinking about once a year because in Humboldt County you kind of got to keep it a special attraction, but it is definitely tough. I give props to all the promoters out there that do this on a monthly, weekly, twice-a-month basis. It's rough. Like you said, if you don't have a building, if you don't own a ring, it's tough. We worked it out. It's going to be a good show, and I'm really looking forward to it. And once again, thanks, David, for getting the word up there and helping us get in touch with Sparky and Gold Rush Pro Wrestling. And, we're on and we're ready to go. In fact, I was at the venue today. We were going over all the little details when you called, and we had our little production meeting. But we're just about a little over a week away, so can't wait to see what's going to happen.
Very cool. And y'all should go see the show because these guys have already faced adversity, and they've already pulled through. So go see their show. It's going to be spectacular. I can't wait to hear, hopefully, a good report. Once again, if you missed it earlier, you need to download the download because you missed a hell of a show. We had Mick Foley and Gorgeous Gary Young, who were tag team partners in Memphis. They were also tag team partners in the AWA during the whole AWA Memphis World Class Entertainings. They were also partners down in Alabama for the Fullers, and they were partners down here in World Class Championship Wrestling. They were part of Devastation Incorporated. Gary is going to be inducted into the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame this coming Saturday night in Fort Worth. The Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame is a huge deal. It's a huge deal, not because I founded it. I did start it a few years ago.
Yes, it is, because you founded it.
Well, but every year, it's not about me. That's not the reason I started it. I started it because it needed to happen, and I'm going to get up in front of everybody this coming Saturday, and I'm going to, every year I like to tell people, because every year we have new people, every year I like to tell people why we do this, because people wonder, why do you do this when there's no monetary gain? Well, we do it because we love the business, and I get so much out of seeing everybody smile and hug and shake hands, and I just get, last year I saw Maniac Matt Bourne, no longer with us. Him and Stan Hansen were hanging out together, and those two guys were having the time of their lives. And it was the last time we ever saw Matt. And that's a big deal. And this year his kids are going to be there. It's moments like that. It's moments when Stan Hansen gets up and talks about Frank Goodish, and Stan Hansen starts to get emotional. That's why this is genuine. This is real. I talked to Stan Hansen for 30 minutes today. I can't believe I'm saying that. And we were talking about my mentor, Johnny Valentine. Stan was like, how did you know Johnny? And because me and Stan talk, but Stan talks to people every day. So we talked, and, Stan's coming up this weekend. He's looking to it. We're going to honor Terry Bam Bam Gordy, one of the best big men ever laced up a pair of boots. His family's going to be there. We got so many. Ray Evans, the ravishing one. We got Chris Germany, former NWA World Tag Team Champion. We got Rick Manning, one of the greatest referees ever. We got Dusty Wolf, who wrestled for Vince McMahon, Jim Crockett Promotions, Joe Blanchard, Southwest Championship Wrestling. We've got Gorgeous Gary Young, obviously. We've got Awesome Kong, not Karma. Awesome Kong of the Colossal Kong. He was the USWA Heavyweight Champion. We've got, just the list goes on and on. Gary Toole, Todd Heck. We're going to honor Devastation Incorporated. This thing is going to be, we've got promoters coming in from all over the country. We've got people coming in from 7 different states. This thing is phenomenal, and it's a real good time. And that is why we do it, ladies and gentlemen, because it is a good time. So, wow, I cannot wait. I love this weekend. It's going to be, it's a heck of a schedule for me, because I got this show tonight. Tomorrow I'm doing another podcast. Friday, I'm doing a meet and greet at Fox and the Hound. Saturday's the Hall of Fame. Sunday is another podcast up in Buffalo with our friends BoardWrestlingFan.com, who distribute this show on their iTunes store. And then I'm going to take a couple of days off, and then next Wednesday I'm on here alone because Michael's got a previous engagement, and we're going to be reviewing the Hall of Fame, the sights, the sounds, all that good stuff. So, yeah.
I hope you can handle the show next week, David.
So anyway,
I know you're gonna have Matt Rivera on.
Anyway, all right. Monday night. Actually, Mick had Mick and me were talking about it before you called in. Talking about it briefly. So Monday night, a really interesting segment. Let's call it a segment. I don't like using the word storyline. A segment happened where Daniel Bryan, who has been challenging Triple H to a match at WrestleMania. Triple H has been saying no, you're beneath me, you're a B-plus player, all that jargon. This past Monday, WWE did something that was really, really interesting. It was different. There was fans wearing the Yes Movement shirts, about 100, maybe more. Daniel Bryan starts the segment, single promo in the ring by himself. By the time they come back from the first commercial break, the ring and the ringside area is full of fans and Yes Movement shirts who will not leave the ring until Triple H finally, grudgingly accepted not only to wrestle Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania one-on-one, but if Daniel Bryan somehow beats Triple H, Daniel Bryan will be added to the WWE World Heavyweight title match the same night at WrestleMania against Dave Bautista and Randy Orton. What a heck of a segment. It's been praised by some. It's been not praised by some. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was fun. A lot of people seem to like it. What are your thoughts?
Well, we were talking about it earlier today, and for about 10 minutes I forgot, just that about the business and all that, and I just became a fan. When they came back from the commercial and you see the ringside area and the ring just full of all the people in the Yes Movement shirts, and they're doing the Yes chant and their arms are up in the air, that was probably one of the most amazing things I've seen on any wrestling show, Raw, SmackDown, and TNA, probably in 10 years. I mean, that was just absolutely mind-boggling how many people were surrounding that ring, were in that ring, doing the whole Yes Movement. I said last month that I figured that Daniel Bryan wasn't going to win the Elimination Chamber, and it somehow was going to become a triple threat at WrestleMania. I wasn't sure how they were going to do it. I definitely did not expect them to do it this way. Not with the hundreds of people in the ring and around the ring and all that. But they did it. He has to get past Triple H. I think he's going to. And then I think he's going to, honestly, my opinion, I'm going to say it right now, I think he's going to walk away with the title in New Orleans at WrestleMania 30. That's my prediction. Right now I'm saying it right here. There's a lot of other people that are saying it too, but you know what? Hey, I have a radio show. I'm going to tell you what my opinion is. As far as that segment goes, I've watched it. I repeated it over a few times. I watched the Raw after show on the network that night, and it was well done. If that was the plan they had all the way through this time to lead up to a moment like that, I'm going to give credit where credit is due to that creative team. But I think a lot of this was just based on a rabid fan base that nobody expected for Daniel Bryan. If creative came up with it, great. But I think some of it has to do with this fan base, and they just kind of rolled with it from there. But if this is what they were leading up to, then they led up to a great moment, in my opinion.
It's funny. I was told by somebody that's booked a lot of shows over the years. I'm responding to an instant message. Okay, sorry. I'm two or three different.
Hello?
Okay, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Michael, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. What happened?
Oh, I'm on a cell phone, so my ear must have hit, or the button, or finger. Anyway, I'll just repeat what I said really, really quick. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, last week we started something really, really cool. We are going to take a pay-per-view that was on the WWE Network, and we're going to talk about the highs and the lows. Last week, we picked Halloween Havoc 1990. There was a lot of lows on that show. Just to give you an indication, the Nasty Boys were one of the highs. That's to give you folks an indication of how rocket buster that show was. So this week what we did was we went a little bit farther out, and I picked the show, Fully Loaded 2000, presented by the World Wrestling Federation. Now, here's something that is really coincidental. Should have brought this up earlier. That was at the Reunion Arena in Dallas, Texas. The night before, if you will, there was a show in Sulphur Springs, Hobart Town. Greg the Hammer Valentine was on it. Chris Adams was on it. Gary Hart was on it. I believe Scandal Akbar was running or booking the show. Mick Foley made an appearance at that show. Mick was the commissioner of the WWF at the time. Mick was either in town early, came in early, and did the show for Akbar. I got to meet Mick Foley that night. And Mick was cool as school. That's back when he had his shaved head. So anyway, Fully Loaded 2000 is built around a triple main event. The Undertaker against the Olympic gold medalist, Kurt Angle, Triple H, I'm going to say it like William Regal because I love William Regal, Triple H against Y2J, Chris Jericho in a last man standing match, and the WWF Championship is on the line when The Rock defends against, yes, Chris Benoit. Michael, do you remember anything about this show?
I watched a little bit of it on the network and all that just to kind of refresh my memory. I remember a little bit about it. But do you recall The Rock versus Chris Benoit? It was about the time when The Rock started using the sharpshooter.
Yes.
I think that was one of the moves he pulled out of his arsenal that night. I will admit, I didn't do my homework. I didn't have a chance to catch up on the entire show, but I tried.
Well, the three main events are pretty much the best things on the show. Rikishi worked Val Bennett in a steel cage match for the Intercontinental title. And the most notable thing from that match is Rikishi, as big as he was, went to the top of the cage and went for a splash. I believe he missed it. Val Venus became the Intercontinental Champion. Nothing against either one of those guys. It just, the three main events were the story. The Undertaker Kurt Angle was relatively short. Undertaker beat Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle would later go on to become the world champion that year. Really odd booking decision, if you ask me. And then Triple H and Jericho had a real good last man standing match. Of course, Triple H went over. They had a really innovative, interesting match. And then The Rock and Chris Benoit, they did something where I believe Shane McMahon was either the referee or he was at ringside. And they did it what we call a dusty finish, where one finish is done, and then somebody comes out and reverses the decision, and either the match continues or they reverse the decision. It's called a dusty finish because it was innovated by Dusty Rhodes, who did it a lot when he was booking for Jim Carter Promotions. Anyway, Benoit won the WWF Championship, was on his way back to the locker room when our guest from earlier, how cool is that to say, when our guest from earlier, Mick Foley, came out, and I think he restarted the match. Because there was no way The Rock was just going to take a disqualification. The Rock ended up, I believe, using the Rock bottom people's elbow, getting the 1, 2, 3. It was the first pay-per-view that the WWF ever put on in Dallas. It was the first one. So it's kind of a milestone if you think about it, especially the history of this territory. It was the first pay-per-view that the WWF ever put on, and it was at the Reunion Arena. So, Fully Loaded 2000. If you've got some time, check it out. I would just watch the three main events. Undertaker and Angle, they've had a lot better matches. If you want to see a good Undertaker-Kurt Angle match, watch No Way Out 2006. Skip this one. This was back when Undertaker had just come back from being on the shelf. Angle was still in his first year in the business. they've had better matches when they got a little more seasoned, when they got a little more, I say seasoned, I don't mean the Undertaker needing to get seasoned. I was talking about Angle and them getting used to each other. Undertaker's in a lot better shape in their match in 2006. No Way Out 2006 if you want to see a classic between Angle and Undertaker. Triple H and Jericho was good. I think it's better than their WrestleMania 18 match, probably because The Rock and Hogan didn't go on right before them. Just a quick sidebar about WrestleMania 18. Jazz, good friend of mine, Texas Wrestling Hall of Famer, called her the very next day. Jazz was the match that went on right after The Rock and Hogan in Toronto. She wasn't happy. Called her the next day, and she was like, what the hell was I supposed to do? Everybody was blown up after Rock and Hogan. Because I could have gone out and, threw somebody off the ring through a table, and nobody would have cared. He was right. So, and then Rock and Benoit, those two always had good matches. So if you got time, if you want to check that out, Fully Loaded 2000, and we will have we'll go through another pay-per-view. We will go through another pay-per-view next week. We will be right back with more IHWE Radio.
This is IHWE champion Matt Riviera, and I want to see you June the 8th at the Sendura Center in Fort Worth. This is IHWE champion Matt Riviera, and when I listen to a podcast, the only podcast that I listen to is IHWE Radio.
All right.
So does Matt listen to a podcast?
He might.
If he does,
he's working out.
Does he listen?
You never know. Well,
yes.
The point is, when he does, he listens to us. That's what matters.
You got a point.
He's the IHWE champion. He's the IHWE champion. So
you got a point. I can't wait to listen to the next week's show and see how you and Matt do. I think it's going to be great. Give Matt my best. Maybe I'll see him in Vegas. Actually, no, I will see him in Vegas this year because at the Cauliflower Alley reunion, I will be representing IHWE. Matt Riviera is the IHWE heavyweight champion.
Yes.
So logic says that he and I will probably cross paths and do some business, and we'll go from there. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Hopefully Matt doesn't, kick my ass from one end of the casino to the other for any rude remarks I might have made, but we'll see what happens.
I'll have a talk with him before he flies in. We're good like that.
You'll tell him to kick my butt from one end to the other.
No, of course not. No, I need you. I need you. I really do. I'll see him this weekend. He's coming down. He's flying in Friday. I'll see him this weekend. So it's gonna be a good time. Me and Matt are gonna be inducting Maniac Matt Bourne, and we're gonna be honoring him on Saturday. So it should be good.
Like I said, I'll be listening. I'll download and take a listen to it on my phone. I will be gone next week, as you said. I do have a previous engagement. I'm going to take a little minute. I'm going to get a little sentimental for a second because next Friday, the night before my show, actually, my wife is a wonderful person. She's letting me work on the show on this day. But next week, on the 21st, my wife and I will be celebrating our 5th wedding anniversary. So on the 19th, while you and Matt are, thank you, while you and Matt are playing buddy-buddy on the air, I will be in Gold Beach, Oregon, enjoying the beach, the sunshine. I hope it is Oregon. It could rain. Probably will. But that is why I will not be here. I have to go and, spend some time with my wife. We're looking forward to it. Chance to get away for a couple days. Got to take the baby with me, or take the baby with us because, the baby loves her mama. So the two oldest are staying at home, though. So Grandma's taking care of them. So it'll be a little bit of a break because, you will find this out, man, that, as them babies get bigger, the destruction gets worse. My kids could be a little Devastation Incorporated, if that gives you any idea.
Awesome. Well, you will be missed next week. I rib you a lot on this show, but you will be. But hey, enjoy your anniversary. That's important. My wife and my anniversary is in November, so I'm sure come November I'll be doing the same thing and leaving it with you. So yeah.
Yeah, because we got to remember the wives kill us if we ignore them and do the show instead of the anniversary.
Yeah.
So
and
we got to do the husband and father thing.
Yes, I agree, and we wouldn't have it any other way. We love our wives. I have no problem saying that either.
There we go. And we need them because they watch the kids while we do this show, and then they probably yell at us after it's over. But.
Oh, it's funny. All right, we got a few more minutes here, and then we're gonna step away for the evening. We both got busy weeks, but I know you wanted to say something, so you have the floor.
Thank you. I did want to say something. I had something prepared. I had it all written out, but I threw it out because I wanted to say this just straight from the heart, straight off the top of my head. But this week, in Fort Worth at the IHWE Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame, Gary Young, Stan Hansen, Ray Evans, Awesome Kong, Chris Germany. There's a tribute to Devastation Incorporated and Matt Bourne. There's a great event happening on Saturday, and on behalf of
Terry Bam Bam Gordy, don't forget him.
Terry Bam Bam Gordy, thank you. As I said, I don't have my notes in front of me. I'm going off the top of my head on this one. On behalf of myself and the rest of my team on Encyclopedia WCCW, we want to congratulate all the inductees in this year's Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame. And myself personally, I would like to thank them for all the years they spent on the road, all the years they spent in the ring, entertaining the fans, entertaining us, doing what they love, and giving us so many memories. As a kid, like you, I watched World Class, I watched the NWA, I watched WWF, I watched it all. And there are memories of it. I watched it with my dad. My dad referred to it as that fake-a-loo bullshit, as you like to call it, because, it was, to him, it was all fake, but he still watched it. And as a kid growing up, I remember we'd sit there and watch it. He'd complain, but he still watched because he was just as fascinated by it as I was. I've since gone on and kind of made it part of my profession now. I've kind of got my feet into the business now, covering it from a historical basis, historical standpoint, doing the encyclopedia, doing this radio show. So it's an important thing to me, and it's important to see that something like the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame that you do is going on. And like Gary said, it's not a small thing. You're honoring these guys. You're giving them the opportunity just to thank the fans, not congratulate, sorry. You're giving them the opportunity to thank the fans. You're giving them a chance to have one more moment in the spotlight because, unfortunately, people sometimes will forget the history. We're trying to keep it alive. As long as you can keep it alive, there's people to tell the history. It won't die. And you're doing a great thing. I wish I could be there on Saturday to see the honorees, to get to meet them. I'm hoping to come to a ceremony someday. Maybe next year, see the Von Erichs, the family going in. But it's a great thing. You're doing a great job, man. Don't ever sell yourself short saying it's a little Hall of Fame or it's not like the big one. Because it doesn't matter if it's the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame, the WWE Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame in Amsterdam, the Hall of Fame in Waterloo, the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion in Las Vegas where they honor everybody. The fact that we're remembering these men and women for what they did, entertaining us, and spending all that time on the road away from their families doing something like this because they wanted to, because they loved to do it. They say it was a job a lot of the time, but it was something they wanted to do, and to actually get the chance to recognize them for all the things they did is an amazing feat. Honestly, I would love to be a part of that Hall of Fame someday. To be able to go there and induct somebody, or to just be there as part of it to give a speech. But congratulations to everyone going in on Saturday. I'm going to see the pictures. I'm going to see the video. And in spirit, I will be there. I'm going to be at work physically, but in spirit, I will be in Texas at the Hall of Fame, watching those guys one more time, standing up there in that spotlight, doing what they do best, and entertaining everybody. So congratulations, guys. You earned it. David, congratulations on running a great Hall of Fame. You've earned it. Keep it going. I'm glad to be a part of this, and that's all I got to say.
Well, thank you, Michael. The best thing you hear from the heart. And it's going to be very, I get really emotional. This year's going to be more emotional. Last year, my father had to have a quadruple bypass on his heart. He had 90% blockage in his heart. And he had a quadruple bypass, and it was scary. But I'm proud to say he's going to be there on Saturday. And I'm proud to say my son is going to be there for the first time to see his first Hall of Fame on Saturday. And he's going to get to see what Daddy does best. And what Daddy does best is that he is in this business. And so it's going to be really emotional, but it's going to be good emotional. There's going to be some sad times when we're talking about Matt Bourne, when we're talking about Terry Gordy, when we're talking about Awesome Kong, Ray Evans, Skandar. But it's a day of celebration, and that's what we're going to do. And when everybody comes together, Stan Hansen said it earlier. He said as you get older, you really enjoy seeing people again. And, man, tonight, just what we did tonight, we brought two guys together that hadn't talked to each other since 1990. What we did tonight is an accomplishment in itself. We brought two guys together that were together for a long time, went on different paths for no other reason other than that's just what their destiny was, to go on different paths. They both made notable marks in wrestling. We brought them together on this show. That's what we do here. We create moments. We promote positive goodwill for professional wrestling. And I'm proud to be associated with the show. This has been an awesome week. This was the kickoff to this week, which is amazing. So thank you, Michael. You will be there in spirit. And, folks, if you want to follow the action this weekend, I'm going to be as busy as I can updating social media. I want to thank Dave Meltzer, WrestlingObserver.com. Not only did he talk about the show tonight, he also put over the Hall of Fame. Thank you for that. Twitter, I am at HXC Fuller. I'm on Instagram at VDFTX. I am on Facebook, but go ahead and follow the IHWE Facebook, which is facebook.com/IHWE Pro Wrestling. I will be putting up as much pictures, as much commentary, as much videos as I possibly can with my phone. In addition, we're going to be filming some things. In addition, we got a couple photographers coming. So I will get everything up as soon as I possibly can. It's going to be a busy weekend. And next year we're working on different accommodations so more people can attend and be a part of it because they want to be. And I want them to be as well. So real quick, Michael, let everybody know where you're at. Let everybody know about the where people can get progress with the book. And then we'll wrap this up.
Always, man, every time, every week, I say the same thing. You can find me on Twitter at EncycloWCCW. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Encyclopedia World Class. I'm not on YouTube. I am on Instagram. I don't know what my username is, but I am on Instagram. I need to work on that and find out what my name is. But if you want any information about the book, you can find it on Facebook. It's on, like I said, Encyclopedia World Class. And if you got any questions, you got any comments, you got any submissions, you got some photos, you got some programs, go ahead and shoot me a personal message through the page, or you can shoot me a personal message on my personal Facebook page. Just look up Michael McCurdy. You'll see a picture of me and my lovely daughter on my profile shot. But I appreciate everything I've been given. I get a lot of letters now from people wanting to help out. They've been listening to the show, so things are going well. And, yeah, next week I won't be here. David, you have a good show with Matt. I'll be listening later on down the road on the download. Enjoy the Hall of Fame this week. Like I said, man, I'll be there in spirit. I might even message you a few times on Facebook. We'll see if you answer. But you have a great time, man, and I will be back on in 2 weeks where we will talk about the results of my show March 22nd, and hopefully, well, Humboldt County doesn't burn in a cloud of smoke, as the devil himself put it so eloquently just 2 weeks ago.
Hopefully. Well, you and your wife have a good anniversary. Ladies and gentlemen, It's going to be a crazy week here in Cowtown. We're bringing back the old days, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, everybody, for your support. Thanks, everybody who has taken the time to text, tweet, inbox me, message me, and say what you did. I've gotten so many nice, kind words this week. It's very overwhelming, very humbling. For a kid who just grew up watching Devastation Incorporated beat up Eric Embry every week. Really got to relive a lot of memories tonight. Thank you, Mick, again. Thank you, Mick Foley. Go to realmickfoley.com. Go see Mick in his stand-up comedy. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out. And go get involved in this WrestleMania auction. It benefits a great organization. Mick has done so much charity work. It is unbelievable. So go to realmickfoley.com. We're going to try to get Mick back on here in a few months and talk about other stuff. Thank you, gorgeous Gary Young. I will see you on Saturday. Everybody coming down for the Hall of Fame, be safe. Safe passage to Fort Worth. I will see you on Saturday. Thank you again, Michael, for being so supportive and letting me have tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, we will see you, or not literally, we will be coming to you live next week right here with Hall of Fame business. Thank you so much, and good night from IHWE Radio.